The cool evening breeze rustled through the old mansion's tall trees. Golden sunlight slipped through dusty windows and fell softly on the marble floor. It was my birthday, my 18th birthday. As always, grandfather had arranged breakfast in the large courtyard. He sat in his favorite wooden chair, wearing a white kurta, blue waistcoat, and gold-rimmed glasses, reading his morning newspaper. I walked quietly toward him. He looked up, smiled, and said, "Ah, my little doll has grown up today." I laughed. "Grandfather, I'll always be your little doll, won't I?" He chuckled, took a sip of tea, and suddenly asked, "So tell me, how are you spending your $3,400,000 trust fund?" The plate in my hand trembled. I stared at him in shock. "What trust fund?" A shadow crossed his face. "The one I set up for you when you were just a year old," he said seriously. "I gave the money to your father. It was to be kept safe until you turned 18. My father's face went pale. My mother's hand shook, her teacup almost slipped. Grandfather slowly placed his newspaper down. His voice deepened. "Where is that money?" Diamond with a dot, the silence that spoke everything. The entire courtyard fell silent. My mother lowered her eyes. My father opened his mouth to speak, but couldn't find words. Grandfather's tone grew heavier. "I trusted you," he said to my father. "That money was your daughter's future, not yours." I watched, my heart pounding. 1,000 questions raced through my mind. A trust fund in my name, why didn't anyone tell me? Grandfather stood up. His cane tapped against the ground, echoing like thunder. "I want the truth now." Father finally muttered, "Father, we used that money to pay off debts." "Debts?" Grandfather shouted. "That money was not yours to spend, it was for her future." Mother began to cry softly. "We had no choice," she whispered, "we would have lost the house." Diamond with a dot, the secrets of the past. The next day, grandfather called me to his room. It was an old-fashioned study, wooden cupboards, a large desk, and on the wall my late grandmother's portrait. He spoke gently. "My dear, that money was part of your grandmother's will." "My grandmother's will?" I asked in surprise. He nodded and opened an old, dusty file. Inside was a small photo of me as a 2-year-old. Below it was a signature. Mohammed Salim Khan, my father's. My chest tightened. Everything suddenly made sense, the guilt on my parents' faces, the silence, the fear. Diamond with a dot, the beginning of revenge. That night I didn't sleep. The lamp flickered as I sat by the window. The wind outside howled as if sharing my pain. Had my own parents stolen my future? Was love just another word to hide greed? The next morning, grandfather demanded records from the bank. They revealed the truth. The money had been withdrawn years ago and invested in a factory registered under my father's name. Grandfather was furious. He ordered my parents to leave the mansion immediately. Mother didn't protest. Father just stood silently, head bowed. I watched them go, my heart aching, yet too numb to speak. Diamond with a dot, time moved on. Months passed. Grandfather's health began to fade. I stayed by his side, giving him his medicine, reading to him, listening to his old stories. One evening he held my hand tightly and whispered, "Never let hatred poison your heart. Money comes and goes, but faith never leaves." Tears welled in my eyes. He smiled faintly, closed his eyes, and never opened them again. The final secret. After his funeral, the lawyer opened his will. Everyone gathered in the courtyard, silent and tense. The lawyer read aloud, "I leave all my remaining property and wealth to my granddaughter, Nayla, on the condition that she forgives her parents." All eyes turned to me. My father and mother stood quietly in the corner. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and said softly, "I am not angry anymore, but forgiveness doesn't come so easily." Diamond with a dot, the tragic ending. I left the mansion soon after. I moved to the city, found a small job, and started my life anew. Years passed, and so did time's healing silence. Father's factory failed. Mother fell ill. They wrote to me many times, but I never replied. Then one rainy morning, a letter arrived. Mother had passed away. I rushed back to the village, but I was too late. The funeral was over. Father sat alone in a corner, tears streaming down his wrinkled face. When he saw me, he whispered through trembling lips, "Daughter, forgive us, our greed blinded us, we lost everything, even you." I knelt beside him, holding his shaking hands. "Father," I said softly, "I forgive you, but what we lost can never return." Rain poured outside. Thunder rolled across the sky, it felt like the heavens themselves were crying. And in that moment, I remembered grandfather's words echoing in my heart. Money can be lost, but faith should never be. Diamond with a dot epilogue. 25 years later, I returned to the old mansion. The trees still stood tall, whispering stories of the past. The air smelled the same, of rain, of old wood, of memories. Grandfather's chair was still there, empty and quiet. I smiled through tears and whispered, "Grandfather, now I understand. Not everything in life is bought with money." The wind blew softly through the courtyard, carrying with it a familiar warmth. As if he were smiling once again. And I closed my eyes and prayed. If only time could turn back.